Think Christmas appetizers are all about cheese fondue and veggie trays? Think again. Back in the 1970s, holiday spreads were bold, bizarre, and brimming with creativity. These forgotten appetizers tell the story of America during the 1970s, a golden age of experimentation and nostalgia. Today, we're diving into 25 famous appetizers from the 1970s Grandma always had on the Christmas table. Christmas appetizers from that era were the life of the party, combining bold flavors with eye-catching presentations. Some are still around in modernized forms, but many have vanished into history. Today, we're bringing them back, one retro appetizer at a time. Cheese fondue. The undisputed queen of Christmas in the 1970s arrived in that iconic orange pot with flames dancing underneath. Cheese fondue exploded across American holiday entertaining when Nixon was in office, transforming living rooms into Swiss chalets. Grandma rubbed garlic inside her fondue pot, heated dry white wine until shimmering, then added handfuls of shredded Swiss and Gruyere. The cheese melted in golden waves, releasing sharp, nutty aromas that announced the party had started. A splash of kirsch, pinch of nutmeg, and cornstarch kept everything creamy and stretchy. This wasn't just an appetizer, it was theater. Serving fondue during vintage Christmas parties meant you were worldly, sophisticated, someone who understood European culture. Every guest got their own long fork, creating communal dining moments that defined the era. Today's trendy cheese pulls are just fondue's grandchildren wearing modern clothes. Mary's Christmas Tree. This architectural masterpiece walked straight off an old Hollywood movie set onto 1970s Christmas tables. Mary's Christmas tree wasn't just food. It was engineering, artistry, and holiday spirit molded into one impressive cream cheese centerpiece. Grandma softened blocks of cream cheese days before her vintage Christmas party, mixing in fresh dill, parsley, dried chives, Worcestershire sauce, and garlic powder. She sculpted the mixture into a cone shape on her best serving platter. Then, the magic happened. Green bell pepper pieces became garland, cherry tomato halves turned into ornaments, and a yellow pepper star crowned the top. Pimento strips wrapped around like tinsel. The cream cheese stayed firm enough to hold its shape, but soft enough to spread on crackers. This retro appetizer represented everything baby boomer food culture celebrated: abundant, beautiful, and completely over the top for holiday buffets. Lobster Thermidor. When Grandma served Lobster Thermidor at Christmas in the 1970s, she was channeling pure 20th century opulence. This French classic became an American holiday entertaining staple, proving middle-class families could serve restaurant-quality festive food. She split fresh lobster tails, extracted the meat, and diced it into chunks. The shells became edible serving vessels. In a saucepan, butter melted with shallots until fragrant. Then flour created a roux. Heavy cream and dry sherry transformed it into velvety sauce. Lobster meat folded in with Dijon mustard, paprika, and cayenne pepper. She spooned the mixture back into shells, topped everything with parmesan and breadcrumbs, then broiled until golden and bubbling. The aroma, buttery, briny, with sharp cheese overtones, filled the house. Each bite delivered tender lobster in rich, wine-laced cream sauce. This wasn't casual snacking. This was American nostalgia for continental dining and old-fashioned recipes that impressed every guest. Crab-stuffed mushrooms. These elegant bites define the golden age of entertaining when hostesses competed to create the most sophisticated Christmas appetizers from the 1970s. Grandma selected large white mushroom caps, removing stems and creating perfect vessels. Real crab meat, lump or backfin, never imitation, got mixed with cream cheese, mayonnaise, and finely minced onion. A dash of Old Bay seasoning, squeeze of lemon juice, and breadcrumbs bound everything together. She filled each mushroom cap generously, mounding the crab mixture high. Grated Parmesan went on top before baking at 375 degrees until the mushrooms released their earthy juices and the filling turned golden brown. The contrast was perfect. Meaty mushrooms against delicate, sweet crab meat in tangy, creamy filling. These retro appetizers appeared at every vintage Christmas party because they could be prepared ahead, looked restaurant quality, and tasted expensive without breaking the holiday budget during American holiday entertaining. Christmas Tree Cheese Ball. The Christmas Tree Cheese Ball stood tall on every 1970s Christmas buffet table, covered in green herbs and studded with colorful vegetables like a decorated evergreen. Grandma combined cream cheese, shredded cheddar, blue cheese crumbles, and Worcestershire sauce, mixing until smooth. Garlic powder, onion powder, and a splash of hot sauce added complexity. She shaped the mixture into a cone on her serving platter. Then, the transformation happened. Fresh parsley, masses of it, got pressed into the surface until the entire cone turned forest green. Cherry tomato halves became red ornaments. Thin carrot strips created orange garland. A yellow bell pepper star crowned the top. This vintage recipe represented baby boomer food culture's love of presentation and abundance. The cheese ball stayed refrigerated until party time, then came out to soften slightly. Guests spread it on crackers, revealing layers of sharp, tangy, herbaceous flavor underneath that festive exterior. Bacon-wrapped Smokies. Nothing says Gen X memories like the smell of bacon-wrapped cocktail sausages caramelizing in the oven during holiday entertaining. These three-ingredient wonders became the most reliable Christmas appetizers from the 1970s, because even kitchen-averse hosts couldn't mess them up. Grandma cut bacon strips into thirds, wrapped each piece around a little smoky sausage, and secured everything with toothpicks. She arranged them in a baking dish. Then, the secret ingredient, brown sugar, got sprinkled generously over the top. As they baked at 350 degrees, the sugar melted into the bacon fat, creating a sticky, sweet glaze that turned each bite into salty, sweet perfection. The bacon crisped up while the Smokies stayed juicy. That aroma of caramelizing sugar and rendering pork fat announced to arriving guests that this was a real party. These retro appetizers disappeared faster than anything else on vintage Christmas parties' buffet tables. Spicy party nuts. Every golden age of entertaining hostess kept a recipe for spicy party nuts, and Grandma's version defined what festive food meant in the 1970s. She melted butter in a large roasting pan, stirring in Worcestershire sauce, garlic powder, onion powder, cayenne pepper, and seasoned salt. Mixed nuts, pecans, cashews, almonds, and walnuts got tossed in this spiced butter until every piece glistened. Low and slow was the rule. 250 degrees for an hour, stirring every 15 minutes. The nuts toasted gradually, absorbing the butter and spices while developing deep, complex flavors. They emerged from the oven fragrant, crunchy, with heat that built gradually in your mouth. Grandma stored them in decorative tins, pulling them out when guests arrived. These old-fashioned recipes worked because they could be made weeks ahead and actually improved with age as the spices mellowed and melded together during American holiday entertaining. Nutty Puppy Chow. Before it became a mall food court staple, Puppy Chow was a Christmas in the 1970s secret weapon that kept kids and adults happy at vintage Christmas parties. Grandma melted chocolate chips with peanut butter and butter in a saucepan, stirring until glossy and smooth. She poured this mixture over Chex cereal in her largest bowl, tossing gently to coat every square. Then came the magic. She dumped everything into a paper grocery bag with powdered sugar, folded the top, and shook vigorously. Kids fought over who got to shake the bag. When the cereal emerged, each piece was completely coated in sweet white powder, with chocolate peanut butter flavor hidden underneath. The texture combination was perfect. Crunchy cereal, smooth chocolate coating, powdery sugar finish. This baby boomer food classic wasn't fancy, but it disappeared faster than appetizers that took hours to make. Pure American nostalgia in every handful. Olive puffs. These sophisticated bites brought Mediterranean flair to 1970s Christmas tables, when international cuisine was just becoming mainstream in American holiday entertaining. Grandma used green olives stuffed with pimentos, the same ones from her martinis. She drained them thoroughly, patting each one dry. Sharp cheddar cheese got shredded and mixed with softened butter and flour until it formed a dough. Cayenne pepper and paprika added a kick. She wrapped each olive completely in cheese dough, rolling it into a perfect ball. These went onto baking sheets and into a 400-degree oven until the cheese puffed up and turned golden brown. The result was extraordinary. Crispy, buttery cheese exterior giving way to hot, briny olive center. The contrast between rich cheese and salty olive made these retro appetizers incredibly addictive. They represented the golden age of entertaining, when hostesses took time to wrap each individual olive by hand. Egg rolls. When egg rolls appeared on the 1970s Christmas buffets, they announced that this hostess was adventurous, embracing Chinese-American cuisine during its surge in popularity. Grandma bought wonton wrappers from the Asian grocery store, an exotic expedition in itself. She stir-fried shredded cabbage, carrots, and celery with ground pork, seasoned with soy sauce, ginger, and garlic. Bean sprouts and water chestnuts added crunch. After cooling the filling, she placed spoonfuls on each wrapper, folded the sides in, and rolled them tight, sealing the edges with beaten egg. Deep frying happened in her electric skillet, filled with peanut oil heated to exactly 350 degrees. The wrappers bubbled and blistered, turning golden and crispy. She drained them on paper towels before arranging them on serving platters with small bowls of sweet and sour sauce and hot mustard. These Christmas appetizers from the 1970s represented American nostalgia for Chinese takeout, elevated to party food. Salmon mousse. Few vintage recipes screamed sophistication like salmon mousse, molded into the shape of a fish and decorated to look like the real thing. This was old, Hollywood-inspired Christmas gatherings brought to suburban dining rooms. Grandma combined canned salmon with softened cream cheese, mayonnaise, and unflavored gelatin bloomed in cold water. Lemon juice, dill, capers, and onion added layers of flavor. She poured the mixture into a fish-shaped mold and refrigerated it overnight until firm. The unmolding required courage, a quick dip in hot water, then an inverted plate, and prayers that it would release cleanly. She decorated the molded salmon with cucumber slices for scales, olive slices for eyes, and fresh dill as garnish. The texture was smooth, creamy, almost fluffy, with bright salmon flavor tempered by tangy cream cheese. Served with crackers at holiday buffets, this retro appetizer proved Grandma could create restaurant-quality festive food at home. Sausage balls. These three-ingredient miracles defined what baby boomer food could achieve, with minimal effort and maximum flavor. Grandma combined 1 pound of breakfast sausage with 2 cups of biscuit and 2 cups of shredded sharp cheddar cheese. That was it. She mixed everything with her hands until it formed a cohesive dough, then rolled tablespoon-sized portions into balls. They baked at 350 degrees until golden brown and cooked through, filling the house with the irresistible aroma of sage, pork, and melting cheese. The exterior developed a crispy crust, while the interior stayed moist and tender. Each bite delivered savory sausage, tangy cheddar, and buttery biscuit in one perfect sphere. These Christmas appetizers from the 1970s could be frozen after baking and reheated when guests arrived, making them the ultimate make-ahead vintage Christmas party solution. They represented the golden age of entertaining, when simple ingredients created extraordinary results. Cocktail meatballs. Swimming in grape jelly and chili sauce, cocktail meatballs were the sweet, savory sensation that defined American holiday entertaining in the 1970s. Grandma mixed ground beef with breadcrumbs, egg, onion powder, and garlic powder, rolling the mixture into marble-sized meatballs. She browned them in batches in her electric skillet. Meanwhile, the sauce that would become legendary came together. 1 jar of grape jelly and 1 bottle of chili sauce heated in her slow cooker until the jelly melted completely. The meatballs went into this glossy, sweet, spicy sauce and simmered for hours. The aroma was puzzling at first, sweet grape meeting tangy tomato, but the taste was addictive. The sauce coated each meatball in sticky glaze, penetrating the meat with sugar and spice. Guests speared them with toothpicks from the slow cooker kept on warm. These retro appetizers sparked debates about the recipe's origins, but everyone agreed they were essential festive food. Spinach dip. Served in a hollowed-out round bread loaf, spinach dip became the centerpiece of every 1970s Christmas buffet table during the golden age of entertaining. Grandma thawed frozen chopped spinach, then squeezed every drop of water out. This was crucial. She mixed the dry spinach with sour cream, mayonnaise, dried vegetable soup mix, usually Knorr, water chestnuts for crunch, and chopped green onions. Everything chilled overnight, allowing flavors to meld. Christmas morning, she cut the top off a round sourdough loaf, hollowed out the inside to create a bread bowl, and filled it with cold spinach dip. The bread cubes from the center became dippers, along with raw vegetables. As guests scooped dip, they scraped the bowl's sides, getting bits of sourdough with each bite. This vintage recipe represented American nostalgia for communal eating and presentation-focused baby boomer food that looked as impressive as it tasted. Crab Rangoon. These crispy, cream-filled wontons brought Polynesian restaurant flair to Christmas in the 1970s, when tiki culture still influenced American holiday entertaining. Grandma mixed cream cheese with canned crab meat, green onions, Worcestershire sauce, and garlic powder. She placed small spoonfuls on wonton wrappers, moistened the edges with water, and folded them into triangular purses, pleating the tops. Her deep fryer heated to 350 degrees, hot enough that the wontons sizzled immediately when dropped in. They fried until golden and crispy, with the cream cheese mixture inside melting into molten, savory filling. She drained them on paper towels and served them hot with sweet and sour sauce. The contrast was everything, crackling wrapper giving way to hot, creamy interior with sweet crab and tangy cream cheese. These Christmas appetizers from the 1970s proved that old-fashioned recipes could incorporate international flavors while remaining thoroughly American in execution. Tomato aspic. This shimmering red tower of tomato jelly divided guests into believers and skeptics at every vintage Christmas party. Tomato aspic represented the peak of 20th century opulence, when gelatin could transform anything into elegant festive food. Grandma heated tomato juice with beef bouillon, celery, onion, bay leaves, and whole cloves until fragrant. She strained out the solids, then dissolved unflavored gelatin in the hot liquid. Lemon juice, Worcestershire sauce, and hot sauce added complexity. She poured the mixture into a ring mold and refrigerated it overnight. The unmolded aspic wobbled slightly, translucent, ruby red, firm enough to hold its shape but tender when cut. Grandma filled the center with cold shrimp salad. The flavor was savory, slightly tangy, intensely tomato. The texture was smooth, slippery, completely unique. This retro appetizer proved that American nostalgia for gelatin-based dishes wasn't just about sweets. Savory aspics ruled holiday buffets too. Aspic Mold. Beyond tomato, Grandma created aspic molds that suspended entire landscapes of vegetables, meats, and eggs in shimmering gelatin during the golden age of entertaining. This old Hollywood-inspired Christmas gathering showpiece started with beef or chicken stock clarified until crystal clear. Unflavored gelatin bloomed in cold water, then dissolved in the hot stock. She poured a layer into her fanciest mold and refrigerated it until tacky. Then came the artistry, arranging hard-boiled egg slices, carrot rounds, peas, diced ham, and celery in decorative patterns. More gelatin went on top, another layer of ingredients, more gelatin. This continued until the mold was full. After overnight refrigeration, she unmolded it onto a platter lined with lettuce. The aspic gleamed under dining room lights, showcasing its imprisoned ingredients like specimens in amber. Each slice revealed the pattern inside. The taste was intensely savory, the texture firm yet yielding. These Christmas appetizers from the 1970s were labor-intensive vintage recipes that proved dedication to holiday entertaining. Bacon-wrapped liver. The most controversial Christmas appetizers from the 1970s were these bacon-wrapped chicken liver bites that guests either loved passionately or avoided entirely. Grandma knew liver was polarizing, but also knew bacon could redeem anything. She trimmed chicken livers, cutting each one in half, then marinated them in milk for an hour to mellow any bitterness. After draining and patting dry, she wrapped each liver piece in half a bacon strip, securing it with a toothpick. Brown sugar got sprinkled over everything before baking at 375 degrees. The bacon crisped up while rendering fat that basted the liver, keeping it tender and moist. The sugar caramelized into sticky glaze. The result was rich, mineral-flavored liver, creamy when cut, wrapped in salty, sweet bacon. This baby boomer food classic separated adventurous eaters from the timid. In vintage Christmas parties, refusing the hostess's appetizer was social suicide, so guests tried everything once. Jell-O salad molds. No 1970s. Christmas was complete without at least 3 different Jell-O salad molds wobbling on the buffet table, representing American nostalgia for gelatin-based creativity. Grandma made them in every color and flavor combination. Lime Jell-O with pineapple and cottage cheese, orange Jell-O with mandarin oranges and shredded carrots, strawberry Jell-O with bananas and walnuts. She dissolved the gelatin in boiling water, added cold water, then folded in her chosen ingredients once the mixture started to thicken. Ring molds, bundt pans, or decorative copper molds created different shapes. After unmolding, she topped them with whipped cream or mayonnaise. The texture was springy, slightly slippery, with bursts of fruit throughout. The flavors were sweet, artificial, nostalgic. These retro appetizers straddled the line between salad and dessert, appearing at holiday buffets during the golden age of entertaining when gelatin mastery was expected of every hostess. Crudité Platters. The arrival of Crudité Platters at Christmas in the 1970s marked American holiday entertaining's embrace of health-conscious festive food, without sacrificing abundance. Grandma arranged raw vegetables in concentric circles on her largest serving platter. Cherry tomatoes, celery sticks, carrot sticks, bell pepper strips, broccoli florets, cauliflower florets, radish roses, and cucumber rounds. The center held a bowl of ranch dip made from scratch with buttermilk, mayonnaise, sour cream, garlic powder, onion powder, dried dill, and parsley. Everything stayed crisp and fresh in the refrigerator until party time. The vegetables were cut precisely, uniform in size, creating visual harmony. This vintage recipe represented a shift from the heavy, mayonnaise-laden appetizers that dominated earlier in the decade. Ranch dip became the gateway drug that convinced vegetable-averse guests to eat their vegetables at vintage Christmas parties. The contrast between crisp, fresh vegetables and creamy, herby dip created balance on tables laden with richer baby boomer food. Grandma's stuffed celery. These elegant finger foods proved that simplicity could shine at old Hollywood-inspired Christmas gatherings when executed with care and quality ingredients. Grandma selected the crispest celery stalks, trimming them into 3-inch pieces. She made several different fillings: cream cheese with blue cheese crumbles and walnuts, pimento cheese, or deviled ham mixed with cream cheese. Using a butter knife, she filled each celery piece generously, creating a smooth mound in the groove. Some got garnished with paprika, others with fresh parsley or a single walnut half. The contrast was perfect: crisp, watery celery against rich, creamy filling. These Christmas appetizers from the 1970s could be made hours ahead and kept covered in the refrigerator. They added color and freshness to holiday buffets dominated by hot brown foods. This old-fashioned recipe represented the golden age of entertaining when hostesses took time for these simple but elegant touches. Candied pecans. The sweet, crunchy, caramelized pecans that filled decorative bowls at every 1970s Christmas party required only sugar, butter, and patience. Grandma heated butter and brown sugar in a heavy skillet until the mixture bubbled and turned fragrant. Raw pecan halves went in next, getting stirred constantly as they toasted and the sugar caramelized around them. A pinch of salt, splash of vanilla extract, and dash of cinnamon enhanced the flavors. She spread them on parchment paper to cool, breaking apart any clusters before they hardened completely. The pecans emerged glossy, crunchy, with a shell of crystallized sugar that shattered between your teeth. The interior stayed buttery and toasty. These retro appetizers worked double duty as festive food and potential gifts when packed in decorative tins. They represented American nostalgia for homemade treats during American holiday entertaining, when store-bought options couldn't match kitchen-made quality. Eggnog Dip. This boozy, sweet dip transformed leftover eggnog into a dessert appetizer that bridged the gap between vintage Christmas party courses. Grandma whipped cream cheese until fluffy, then folded in store-bought eggnog, rum extract, and powdered sugar. Nutmeg and cinnamon added warm spice notes. The mixture stayed thick enough to cling to dippers, but soft enough to spread easily. She served it with ginger snaps, vanilla wafers, apple slices, and pound cake cubes. The flavor was unmistakably eggnog, rich, creamy, with that characteristic spiced custard taste enhanced by rum's warmth. This baby boomer food innovation solved the problem of what to do with extra eggnog after everyone had drunk their fill. At holiday buffets during the golden age of entertaining, this sweet dip appeared late in the evening when guests needed something lighter than the dinner they'd just consumed, but weren't ready for full dessert yet. Hot Dr. Pepper. The most unexpected Christmas appetizers from the 1970s wasn't food at all. It was this heated soda drink that welcomed guests at the door of vintage Christmas parties. Grandma poured bottles of Dr. Pepper into a large pot, added thin lemon slices, and heated it gently without boiling. The result was controversial and fascinating. The carbonation subsided while the heat intensified Dr. Pepper's 23 flavors into a spiced, almost medicinal warmth. She served it in small cups with a lemon slice floating on top. The first sip was always startling. Familiar Dr. Pepper flavor, but completely transformed by heat. It tasted like mulled cider's weird cousin, with cherry and vanilla notes amplified. This retro appetizer represented American holiday entertaining at its most experimental, when hostesses were willing to try anything that magazines and neighbors recommended. Today, it seems bizarre, but in the 1970s Christmas context, hot Dr. Pepper was legitimate festive food innovation that sparked conversation and debate. Conclusion. These 25 Christmas appetizers from the 1970s weren't just food. They were time capsules of an era when American holiday entertaining reached its peak. From sophisticated Lobster Thermidor to humble sausage balls, each dish tells the story of baby boomer food culture, Gen X memories, and a golden age of entertaining when presentation mattered as much as taste. The 1970s Christmas buffet represented something deeper than vintage recipes and retro cooking techniques. It showcased 20th century opulence made accessible to middle-class families. Old, Hollywood-inspired Christmas gatherings recreated in suburban living rooms, and American nostalgia for a time when gathering around food meant something profound. These classic dishes required time, effort, and dedication, qualities that define the era's approach to festive food. What's remarkable is how many of these old-fashioned recipes have survived. Cheese fondue is trendy again. Bacon-wrapped Smokies never left. Spinach dip remains a party staple. The aspics and gelatin molds may have faded, but they represent an adventurousness in American holiday entertaining that deserves respect. Our grandmothers weren't afraid to experiment, to try new techniques, to present food as art. These Christmas in the 1970s, appetizers remind us that holiday buffets were about more than sustenance. They were about community, about showing love through labor-intensive cooking, about creating memories that would last decades. Every carefully wrapped bacon liver bite, every hand-rolled egg roll, every individually stuffed mushroom represented hours of preparation done gladly because that's what vintage Christmas parties demanded. The nostalgia we feel for these retro appetizers isn't just about the food. It's about the gatherings they anchored, the conversations they sparked, the traditions they upheld. In our modern era of store-bought appetizers and delivery platters, there's something powerful about remembering when hostesses spent days preparing 25 different dishes from scratch. Which of these Christmas appetizers from the 1970s did your grandmother make? Did you love the Jell-O salads, or were you a Crudité kid? Did your family have their own signature dish that defined your holiday entertaining? Share your Gen X memories and baby boomer food stories in the comments. Let's keep these vintage recipes alive, celebrating the golden age of entertaining when American nostalgia was being created, one appetizer at a time.